Hello everyone, hello, and welcome to the Talking Stick Show. So this evening I am joined by a special guest. Hello, Laura Massey. Hello.
Hi Dale, lovely to be here.
And lovely to have you. We've got a bit of a story that we've been connecting for a while now, and it's great to actually speak to you. Would you like to tell the listeners a bit about yourself?
I am a practicing shaman and also a shamanic teacher, and I think I can sort of claim that title now after many years of practicing. I trained on Andrew Bartzett's mentorship and did Living the Mystical Life Daily, and I think more importantly I put those teachings into practice. So I definitely walk my talk and love every minute of it, which is a very important aspect of doing this journey. You don't want to do that unless you're not enjoying it most of the time and unless you've got inspiration for it. So I also do craniosacral therapy. I've recently started a company with Matty Waller called Two Feathers Medicine, and under Two Feathers Medicine is sort of an overarching banner for bringing shamanic teachings to the world. And I think our strapline is what the world needs to heal, obviously inspired by my guide. So that we've got all sorts of things in the works for that. But at the moment, the things I do are, Reiki, craniosacral therapy. I love doing tours to the sacred sites. I live in the south of the UK, on the edge of the South Downs National Park. So I was saying to Dale before the show, I have taken, I don't know how many pots of grandmother's soup to all the all the different sacred sites, and now I take my drum to all the sacred sites. So I actually I've been walking the Downs for about 10 years, so that wasn't a difficult thing to do. And I like taking people out and showing them and doing a bit of ceremony with them. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Absolutely, the work on the land. And then when I'm not on the land, I'm here in my treatment room or out. I'm just venturing into a new aspect, which David Ellis has been helping me with. I've been going to the local business meetings, and I met a director of a home care company that looks after the elderly in their home. And I told him the sort of work I did and how we approached emotional overload in the workplace, especially with carers, having been a carer for both my parents. And he gave me a great idea, which is to do something towards looking after carers, caring for the carers. In fact, was a little book I wrote after I'd cared for my dad and got so very haunted, and the only person who could actually help me out was Andrew at the time.
And that's our connection as well, how we came about through Andrew Bartzett's teachings. And it was great because Andrew Bartzett's teachings is all about discipline, having fun on the journey, balance. Obviously that's not even touching what it's all about, but we got together through the Facebook group. Is it Friends of Andrew Bartzett, or how did we come to start speaking?
We did, and yeah. I clocked that you're also doing craniosacral therapy.
There we go.
And
that
you
was
can
it.
fit
that
it in between running and your flotation tank and all your lovely ceremonies that you do. So yes, that's a real. I like the fact I found somebody who likes craniosacral therapy, which is again something that comes from Andrew. So yes, it's I've got a wide range of things. I know you have, and one reason I'm particularly keen on talking to you, because I just feel now is the time that the people who are doing their great work and recognize they're doing their great work actually get together, actually communicate and start to, probably be working in the unseen a long time.
Yes, many lifetimes.
Yes, but to get us to this moment, so sort of all the guides and everything are up there going, yes.
and we wanted to talk about, we were talking before about say the toxic side of spirituality and spiritual ego, all sorts of kind of doing the practice but not actually enjoying it, not smiling, all of different stuff like that. So do you want to go and start into spiritual toxicity and everything like that, and we'll kind of work away and see where it takes us?
Yes, I mean, I'm not saying people don't go into this with the right intent, which is brilliant.
Yes.
But you do have to, as Andrew would say, turn your knowledge into wisdom by right action. And right action is also having a balanced view. And for me, that's the sacred neutral. And for me, a lot on this journey, sort of their wheels come off when they start to have to take the sacred neutral point of view. And as we were discussing before the show, something like the vaccine can absolutely put them into polarity. And so I think so much of this is you've got to actually go out and do the work, do the great work in the sacred neutral, so that you're not getting into all this polarity. Because once you're in polarity, you're then going to start picking up energies which are potentially toxic.
And for the people who aren't aware, do you want to explain a little bit about sacred neutral and the importance of that?
Yeah, sure. Sacred neutral is the middle road. So it's acceptance that everything has its place in the world, which is, when you think, yeah, I can do that, it's actually much harder than you think to do, because when you think of all the subjects in the world that we might have a view on, when you think of our conditioning, when you think of our programming, we have to overcome all that to hold a sacred neutral point of view. It's allowing everything to be as it is. And then if there's something that you don't like in the world or is affecting you as a shaman, then you outcreate it, you don't battle it. Because there's no point in going to battle something with the same energies as it, because you're just adding more of that energy to it, to something that you don't like. So for me, shamanism is outcreating, outcreating that, and go on.
And like you were saying, Laura, about the jab, let's call it the jab.
Yeah.
Demonetized. We're talking about it, but that has been a big teacher. We were saying, and for me personally, about the sides of, like you say, the polarity, the for it, against it. Me personally, I just see it as everyone has their own free will, everyone has their own choices, and if someone wants to go and take that choice, I respect that choice and I don't judge someone for that choice. But we found ourselves in, and I found it in many different friend circles. I've had friends who lose themselves when they talk about the vaccine, or my view on it can't be heard because it's just, no, this is the view, it's either for it or against it. And it really does change people. And I felt that a lot with people talking about it in the spiritual community. I've had to really just hold back and, like you say, just keep that neutral ground and not really want to feed it or go into the different up and down polarities.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, for me, you're not walking the true shaman's path unless you're in sacred neutral, because it means you've given away some of your free will or some of your sovereignty to an energy that isn't neutral. Yes. And you're not allowing something to be as it is. And it's partly removing the good and bad tag, but still having boundaries. And I think that's an important one I had to learn too. You're not saying you're a walkover. I think you're just existing, or for me, it's attempting to exist in a different frequency. And the more you practice sacred neutral, of course, it's like anything, it is easier to maintain that sort of frequency. But now and again, yes, you do need to come out of sacred neutral. We live in the world, don't we? And we have all sorts of energies around us. And maybe we need to come out of it to learn. I certainly have many times. I mean, even now. Yeah, absolutely.
Kids screaming left, right, and centre, right? Try and keep this neutrality.
I have to do this sort of check on myself. I have to check myself and think, now hold on, is that a really neutral statement? But there are times when it is needed not to be sacred neutral. I understand that too. You know, it is a balance and a practice.
Yes, and it corresponds and connects. Talking about the jab is food as well. A lot of vegans, vegetarians, or meat eaters have that opinion where they can't see the other side, and it's one way or the other. And I've had this a lot. Probably about 9 years ago, I was in that ideology stage about everything, and I was kind of maybe going into that. Well, I was going into polarity with it, judgment of myself, judgment of others, and it got for me to actually, like you say, go into that sacred neutral, observing, non-judgment process, and actually see it for what it is, and see all these triggers and what side of myself I still have the triggers, what side of myself is triggering for. And then you have to learn about that, but it takes a long time to figure it out. And looking at it now, like seeing everyone blowing up on Facebook, or I was not going to say any names, but I've been at places where the owners of places have been completely flipped out about food or the jab or anything like that. And yeah, it is, you see it left, right and center, Laura.
Yeah, you do. And like you, Dale, I've been there, and I almost willed myself to become vegetarian.
Yes,
and
I got really ill 10 years ago. I looked so ill because I was in ideology thinking that veganism, without actually doing the research on nutrition, was
yeah, absolutely. But hats off to somebody who does it and keeps himself really healthy and gets the level of protein then they need.
Definitely.
I mean, again, you know, the neutral point of view I've got nothing against it. I only have a view for myself. Yes. And that's that I'm probably too lazy with food to be a good vegan.
Yeah.
And I love my meat. I grew up on meat. I enjoy it very much. I also recognize that, you know, in some ways the animal can get some resolution of karma by you eating it. I do tend to speak to my food before I eat it. I try and buy, you know, organic where I can. But again, I'm not into polarity about that either. I went through a stage where I wouldn't eat anything that wasn't organic. Which makes
I was there as well. And then if it was, it flipped me, and I had to go through so much healing on that. Like,
yes, actually, I'm going through something at the moment that I recognized in myself. I have filtered water at home, and I fill up this big 2-litre bottle before I leave home in the morning to drink all day. And if I forget my bottle or I drink it all, I found I was like, no, I won't have that. That's tap water, right? I recognized that. And this is like fairly recently in some ways. And I thought, now, you know, so you're going to put your body into dehydration because you'll only drink filtered water. Yes. Where is that neutral? Where is that? Where is that the eagle eye view? So I've got out of that one.
There you go. I think I went through that stage with distilled water at some point, like 10 years ago. All I drank was distilled water, and actually realized I need to mineralize my water at some point. I was just like we talking about here, that toxic ideology, spirituality, where you believe something so much that you actually lose the grip of the neutral point of view, and actually looking at the body, looking at what you're doing. And is it nourishing your body? Is it nourishing your spirit? And all of those things, we kind of lose touch on ourselves, and actually asking the body, what does my body need? What foods does it need? Do I need meat? And so many people don't ask themselves, even if they're on the verge of whether to be a vegan or vegetarian, just asking the body, what does my body want today? What do I need to nurture myself and feed myself? And that was a big, huge lesson for me, Laura, that was.
Oh, me too. Yeah, over a number of years. And yeah, that is partly where the toxicity starts, isn't it? It's the extremism.
And let's go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that's also leads in some ways to martyring.
Yes.
There's another way you bring toxicity into your own body, because you have this wonderful idea that you've got to do good for everybody else or whatever it is before you do that to yourself.
definitely.
before you
that
look after yourself.
Yes, yes. And that inner martyr trying to heal people when they don't want to be healed, or say my dad was had brain cancer last year and he died quite fast, and I had to really go through realization that all he wanted was his son. He didn't want this healer and person who, and that zealot side of me, I had to really work on it, because all I wanted to do was heal him. All I wanted to do was help him. But I had to take that step back, go into the neutral point of view, and actually, instead of, like you say, that martyr side of yourself, which is, we all have that inner martyr, I feel, that side where we're trying to do something in an awareness, which is actually quite unhealthy.
Yes, it is. Mine resulted in a shaman's death, and
Yes.
it was similar. It was my father as well, and I would do anything. And I probably trespassed big time on his journey. In some ways, until I realized, but I think also mine was a karmic path as well, because from that I actually learned so much. My father they were just about to record time of death, and he came back and lived a grueling 6 months in intensive care, and then coming out, and then I was caring for him at home some of that time. And I basically gave up my life, made sure I was there. And then my mother was in a similar situation, and the partner I was with at the time was also being demanding, and I tried to be everywhere. And when I look back, but it's all very well in hindsight, isn't it? Yes. I look back and think, what was I doing? And now I say, well, you were learning one of your greatest lessons.
Yes. And I had that when I had the realization. I actually had a reading with Andrew, and he highly recommend to regularly purge my mum, my dad, my wife, energy out of my field, because I was overloading, trying to fix things. My martyr side to me was trying to heal them, and even understanding we are multidimensional beings. So even an intention like that can actually manifest into the reality, or healing someone. So I had to go through that, Laura, and it was hard, actually, just being his son and not being the healer, and actually just being there, having father and son time, because that's all he wanted. But there was a part of me which wanted to do the cannabis therapy. I know how to heal cancer, blah 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 blah, and all of that shit just backfire on me. Like, I think, and I know the cancer cure really easily, and it's going to be easy. Him taking it, he's going to survive. I had all of those visions. But the reality of it, that this death, the fast death, was a huge spiritual contract for me and the soul family and my family, of mourning in the right way. And him going so fast, he came in to do that as an ancestral spirit, to teach me in the unseen world, the ancestors of our lineage, a lesson, basically. So he was a huge teacher for me, and it was all that cross and examination of myself, where I was like, fucking hell. it was a hard time. It really was. It
is. And I think we have to go from, mine is just so similar to that. And of course, this nudges into the spiritual ego as well, which I've definitely had. And I think I've had it with clients, and I've had it with my own children, my grown-up boys now, treading too much on their journey rather than taking a step back. So, and I think, the spiritual ego with the, yes, I can fix you. And one thing that Upledger Craniosacral Therapy teaches you as to meet, and you'll know this, is to meet your client where they're at.
Yes.
And I love that of Dr. John Upledger's. Isn't that beautifully neutral as well?
Yes.
Because you're not forcing your energy into anybody else's field, other than for a neutral cooperation and meeting up with their inner wisdom, and the inner wisdom telling you what it would like you to know rather than what you think you know.
Yes. and that was a big part for me, going back to the many readings I had with Andrew. Was a lot of me was asking questions about my family, say my mum or my dad, but realistically now I've realized that there's just no point asking those questions about them, because all what I learned and advice I did to try and help them it backfired on me. No matter what I knew and what I was wrong with the situation, it was read by Andrew, blah, blah, blah. The more I tried to be like, right, this is the truth here. You need to do this. You need to do that. It backfired on me tenfold. And so now I know from now is that ego, watching my own ego and thinking, oh, right, you need to do this. This needs to happen with the kids. And I had to take a step back as well, Laura, because I was pushing spirituality on my children a bit. So I've had to rein back and actually understand that the best thing they can do is be a child. And the best thing they can do is just enjoy being a child. And when they hit puberty, slowly bringing it in, teaching them. And if they want to do it, if they don't, that's fine. Not pushing it on them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, been there, done that, and got the t-shirt as well, just like
right,
you.
Meditate today, everyone. And they're like, I fucking hate meditation. Why the fuck am I meditating?
You're gonna do it anyway.
Yes, and they're shutting their eyes. Just like...
and I'm not getting cross or worked up at all.
Yes.
Yes, I did exactly the same thing, which was to ask Andrew about all my friends or anybody I thought I could help.
Yes,
rush to them with this wonderful information that I expect them to take on totally and do it, and then I could put the world to rights, one person at a time. So again, this must just be our learning curve, and I'm sure many people on our path, that is their sort of learning curve.
Yes, definitely. And fixing, trying to fix someone, and even in pushing your opinions on someone. Let's talk about that. What opinion you have, and trying to change someone's opinion by conversation. What are some of the important parts of conversation we have to remember in spirituality, and keeping that sacred neutral point of view?
Yeah, totally. Like letting somebody else actually finish a sentence and speak. And sometimes, I mean, you don't even have to, you don't have to question it in any way. You take the information. It's information, isn't it?
Yes.
It's information they've given you. I mean, obviously it depends on the type of conversation it is, but yeah, big one. I used to finish people's sentences.
I know what you're thinking. That's no one, isn't it? I'm going into your field. I know what you're thinking. Get out.
So I'm not saying I've totally, I haven't totally conquered that one, because I think my enthusiasm for my subject and this, you know, when you want to be a teacher because you talk too much. You know, just like the beginning of the show, you suddenly realize, I realize I'm saying an awful lot now. Well, I really want people to know this, and I sort of want people to learn. So again, it's remembering, take a step back, you know, and I don't have to say quite so much, because people would pick up from it what they need to.
That's it. And having those moments of where you do go into the teacher mode and you're going into the flow and expressing, like at the start of the show, all the information you had was brilliant, but it's finding that balance, isn't it, of then having the day where you're actually, right, get off the pedestal, get off the teacher role. I'm going to be a human, and I'm going to just do human stuff and not be so. And that was for me a big part of me 5 years ago, was I was putting myself on a little bit of a pedestal, and I had to really do some self-work on that and realize that I have to really go down and meet that sacred neutral, and everyone in perfect, say, the medicine wheel, where everyone is in alignment with each other. There's no higher or lower, no hierarchy. And I've had to go through that, and learning non-judgment and sacred neutral is the great way to start that, isn't it?
Oh, totally is. And if you think how much I want to talk now in my shamanic practice, can you imagine me as a conspiracy theorist? I was a nightmare. I wanted everybody to know. I was messaging people saying about that flight that went down over, was it Malaysia?
I know where it is.
I was tuning into the Hollow Earth site at the time, taking everything that they said as the truth.
Yes.
I even bought that the Vietnam currency. I even bought the dong, because Archangel Michael had said we were going to make a lot of money. and persuaded some of my friends to buy a tong as well. Luckily, they are still my friends, but I think that was a huge learning for me. And now, yes, I do try and listen to somebody's conversation without wanting to fix what they're telling me. If they ask for advice, I will give it. I still have to check myself not to give too much advice, because what works for me where I am on my journey might not work for them where they are. And I think that's you've got to be so careful if you're getting people to do the sorts of shamanic work that we do, and they're not prepared. So they're going to pick up such toxicity from that, and that's that just, you can't do that. You can't. You've got to be the same way that we were, which is work through the processes of how to be, to practice spiritual hygiene, and then practice prayer, have a daily practice. I mean, I have thought in the past, I can help this person, but it would be great if she did it herself, and I told her what she needed to do. And then I suddenly thought, no, don't do that, because what I could be exposing you to, you're not ready for. Hadn't not done one revocation. What was I thinking?
And that's it. It's when you say you do have clients, and for me it was a big realization that some of the clients would go on and do that, actually put the effort into themselves. But I'm going to be brutally honest here, probably only about 5-10% of my clients actually do the work, maintain the journey, and actually continue on years down the line in the practice. And it's seeing that for what it is. And there's so many people who just want a quick fix, and to know that it isn't about quick fix, and you've got to put the time and effort and discipline and go into those traumas, go into those loopholes and back doors of aura holes, because I experience loads of people with holes in the aura, and usually the hole in the aura is the trauma, or it's a sexual abuse or anything like that, and they're not looking at it, and you're trying to tell them, but they're so traumatized, or they don't want to look at their own shit. And it is a hard game. We have to go through those hardships, those moments of tears, those moments of the death and the rebirth. So let's talk about the importance of doing the work on traumas, and how that connects to toxicity.
Well, doing the work on our own trauma is vital, isn't it? Otherwise the thing is going to raise its head. And of course it's and that is a never-ending process, because we're working through not just years of this conditioning and programming, but what's held within our DNA. Plus all the ancestral karma, all the stuff carried down. So there's a mass of it there. So I mean, isn't trauma what is coming up now, in so many people, which is why I like the cranial sacral work, because that's a huge way to helping people release trauma without having to go through like a counselling process just to repeat it all. If they don't want to say anything, and then therefore I won't say too much, you're always guided by your client, and then maybe the movement in a certain way of a limb to release the trauma can release it. And you can feel that through the craniosacral rhythm, or lack of it, actually, when the energy cysts are released. And these energy cysts are the ones that hold the trauma. And this is a finding again of John Upledger, Dr. John. So and it makes total sense to me that the trauma is held in the body in a sort of a cyst, because the body doesn't want it floating round. And so it tries to contain it. That's where I think craniosacral works wonderfully. But yeah, I mean, really, we've got to have people out there who can help others release trauma, but not create more trauma by treading on their journey, or turning it into something that's negative either.
And this corresponds with shadow work. There's a lot of shadow work out there, and I know a lot of people who get obsessed with shadow work, and they just do that loads more than they actually do the other work, and it all becomes about the shadow to them. And I remember actually Andrew talking about this a few times throughout the conversation I've heard him have about a lot of shadow work being negative, and it's quite a hard thing to do, shadow work, and a lot of people are going in unprepared, not doing their inner work or not being clean in their energy field, and it basically just makes it worse rather than good. And this is connecting to channeling as well. A lot of people channel. I know a lot of dirty channelers who don't do any cleaning work, and they're all connecting to all of these unseen beings, and they've got a lot of shit in the crown or in the auric field, and they don't do any form of purification or actually understanding, if I am a channeler and doing this regularly, I have to be responsible for my awareness of clearing myself, cleaning myself.
I think that really sort of is the real difference between people seriously walking this path, the shamanistic path, and let's say those who divert off into another path where, oh, you know, I cut the cords and that's it, or I do this little practice and that's it. And you sort of might say, well, do you have a daily practice? Not necessarily. You know, they do it after they've had a client or something. And I think it is the difference of having that daily practice and prayer, the prayer practice as well, isn't it? And from there, you know, adding on the spiritual hygiene stuff. And I think that's what they're missing on their path. And then, like you say, they don't know who on earth they're channeling, really, you know, or what situations they're getting into. You know, and they light a candle and that's it.
Yeah,
that's
I've had that a while ago. There was when I did some channeling in, say, 2012, 2013. I was going through that process and that ego point where I was like, right, I'm channeling this multi-dimensional high spirit who pretends it's this, and say there was an ascended master called Sanat Kumara, and that I was trying to channel him, thinking I was channeling Sanat Kumara, and then I realized I wasn't. There was all these people that I was like, right, this just doesn't feel good. This stuff doesn't feel good for me.
Can you imagine all your other selves all having a good giggle at that?
That's it. And a lot of people, the past life stuff as well, of people thinking, say they were Merlin, or say there were loads of different things in the past life. Those are some as well, toxic ideology as well.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. And there's plenty of those about, aren't there?
Yes.
And that is their belief, and that is their toxicity, and it's not for me to I haven't had anybody personally as a client claiming anything like that, but yes, there are. It's all partly why I think Matty and I want to do this this finding your inner shaman work together, because we're trying to capture some of those people who go off the path. So that a lot of us start the same way, like you and I did. So we go to sacred sites and we bring back a stone or a piece of wood, and we've got these massive collections all around the house of every sacred site we've been to, a rock, and then you might get into something else, so you do a bit of ceremony on the land. So a lot start off that way and are interested in crystals and Reiki, and then we seem to lose some. We just seem to lose some who are taken over by the bright lights, whatever it is that they've read somewhere online, it's not decrying it. It's just that in some ways, I'd like to capture some of those and say, look, if you turn some of that into a daily practice and prayer and so on, and learn the spiritual hygiene, and part of that spiritual hygiene is absolutely the revocations, and Andrews are the best out there, but you know, then learn to write your own. If you can capture some of those people at that point without treading on their journey, but because I think some of them just get so lost.
Yes.
You know, and there is so much rubbish out there on the internet as well, isn't there? And then of course with the Yeah, and Facebook and so on, all the social media, and they can probably get some of their friends to I mean, you know, there's not many people actually who won't go maybe and try a meditation group once, you know, because it's much more mainstream, isn't it, meditation?
Yes, yes.
But it's trying to get them beyond that stage. And then look at the words I'm using, trying to get them. You know, that's, see, even now I have to check myself and think, well, the right people will come to me, so the right people will take on the teachings that, you know, I'd like to put out there. The people of the right frequency, or the matching frequency, as we know,
Yes.
will be attracted to it. So why am I even trying to capture some of those light workers? Because if that's their predetermined route, if that's what they've decided to do before they came, I'm certainly don't want to incur any karma for pulling them in. But I think what I'd like to do is say, hey, there is this, there is this.
And that was some of the, so the psychic surgery training course I do at the moment isn't just about the psychic surgery, it's about how to not get overwhelmed with life, how to stay balanced and stay grounded and have some time off from the journey. Don't do the 7-day-a-week practice, make sure you have a day off, all of those different things. And for me, it was a realization of, I don't know whether to do a teacher training on this, because realistically, the people who want to be teaching this need to be doing it and not say breathing it, but having it regularly. And I'm at like that stopping stage where I'm doing the practitioner, but I don't really want to do the teacher, because there's no point, because they want to be doing it for, like I said, 6 months. If you can maintain that, the journal, all of the other stuff, then it opens up for you to then to be the teacher, and so on and so forth. And it made me realize that a lot of there's so much fast tracks, isn't there, in life of learning stuff. And for me, it's always been about the best growth, and the best lessons I've learned is taking me fucking ages to learn. And it's from trying loads of shit, hindsight, foresight, all the different things.
Yeah, yes, I think it's a journey of experience. And just going back to something you've touched on a couple of times is, yes, you can get obsessive about the journey. I certainly did in the beginning. And again, you know, obsession is not the healthy neutral route, but it does help you learn. Yes. So that doesn't make it wrong. But I've totally lost track of where I was. Yes, so having time off and learning you live in this world and just go out and have enjoyment. And I think Andrew, you know, he's recognised it with me a few times. He says, what have you got as hobbies? Just like you've heard him say to callers in, you know, and I had to think about that, and I thought, yeah, just step down a minit.
Cleaning my crystals. Yeah. What's your hobby? Cleaning my crystals.
Yes, just actually enjoy the world, enjoy the experience just of being here and living here now. And something I wanted to touch on as well when we were talking about trespassing on journeys, especially with our children, or maybe for my case, my grandchildren. One way I do that, and it's not trespassing on their journey, but it is just like passing on some teachings, is we do make things like collecting firewood into fun and making them into prayer bundles for the fire. And maybe giving an offering to the tree, you know, where I live or where they live, taking out an apple and talking to the tree. Nothing really rigid, just if they'd like to do it with me. And then other really basic things, like things they don't learn at school, like learning the compass points.
Yes.
Where does the sun go down? Or it's what we're really talking about is the natural way of living.
Yes, yes.
You don't even have to call it spiritual. You know, but that is how shaman lived, isn't it? And that's how our ancestors lived, guided by the stars. So just pointing out the stars to them, you know, that is not treading on a journey. That's just making something that will form a wonderful foundation for them. Because anything that's of the 4 elements, you know, is natural and of the earth, isn't it? So them learning about it, when is high tide? I mean, yeah, I took my grandson up to a sacred site to beat a drum, but I did give him the choice, and he wanted to do it, and we did make that fun, even though he didn't like it.
I had that with my children a few years back. I did ceremony maybe twice a week, not twice a week, sorry, once every 2 weeks or once every week, can't fully remember. But it got to the point where I had to be like, right, instead of this, just do some dance, put some music on, some crazy music, and let's have some fun and just dance, and trying to not be too teacher, seeing them as like little students. And like they're like, I've got to teach you now the ways of the warrior, the ways of the and for me, I had to take that step back and actually make things fucking fun for them, not be even meditation or guided meditation. You have to make it fun, or they're not going to learn it. They're not going to even, and when they get older, they'll resent against it, because like, fuck's sake, my mum or my dad shoved spirituality down my throat and I fucking can't stand it. And that's them, that maybe not look at it again for the rest of their life.
Yeah, we can do a lot of damage as well. That's true. Yes. And the other thing is just, make life fun for yourself.
There we go.
As well. Yeah. I mean, that is so important, is although this is our great work, or anybody who's doing work like this, yes, it's your great work, and there is a degree of seriousness or intent.
Yes.
But I mean, I have fun when I talk to Two Feathers. I can sort of see the faces he pulls, and what he thinks of something, and he will make some very funny comments.
Yes, and you get that as well. That reminded me of a conversation I had where I basically had a ceremony, raised my frequency, and spoke to my dragon, and started speaking to it. And the level of understanding when you're speaking to a celestial being, it's kind of like you feel a bit stupid, you know. I asked a question and you already knew the fucking answer, and it was like, take the piss out of me back, like, you really asking me this fucking question. Yes. Like, my little human mind tried to get instant gratification, or like, when is it gonna happen, blah blah blah. And straight back, like, yeah.
But I was talking about fun without being spiritual, and I went straight into being spiritual.
There we go.
There is so much fun to be had, and it is very important that we don't take it overly seriously, and that ego isn't too much there, sort of saying, oh no, you can't do that, because that's not living. We're here to live. Yes. We're here to live and experience. And I think what's lovely in the end, if you can get this lovely weave, if you can get a weave of being very 3D sometimes, if that's what's needed, so you can actually sit and talk to your friends, and you don't have to say anything that is teaching anything.
It's amazing. It's freedom. That's the best word to describe that. And I finally found freedom in my life. The exhaustion of trying to be a bit of a teacher to your mates and this and that, and it's so annoying. Like, exhausting thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right. I think, no, have another glass of wine.
There we go, and fuck it, just enjoy yourself.
Yes, and but that's probably a big teaching in itself.
Yes,
isn't it?
Yeah. Then when someone's, sorry, go ahead, Laura.
No, you go.
So when you're speaking and someone says something, then you're like, right, here's my time to tell them. Or like when they're speaking about something, you're like, I know the truth here. I have to now I'm just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Yes. I really appreciate your view, and I'm not going to counter argument. I'm just going to listen, and I'll take that in. And before I was trying to change it, or, oh, hang on a minute, no, I feel like this is the truth. And that's, really, really toxic stuff.
Oh, for me, I think it was, if I saw an in, it was almost like drum roll. out comes the platform, up on my spiritual stool, increase my spiritual height and my spiritual wisdom, putting myself above you because you don't know, because you've not done it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I still have to just watch myself sometimes. This thing of people knowing the truth, and then you think, well, hold on, it's their truth.
Yes.
You know, I'm entitled to my truth. They're entitled to their truth. It's true for them where they are on their journey. And it's a matter of decency and respect, isn't it? But again, it's what we've learned along the way, and I'm still learning it. Yes, I am still learning it. But I think I've learned to be a better 3D person, just 3D, or whatever you want to call it. See, in some ways, I don't even like using that term, but not in teacher mode, not in any sort of spiritual mode at all, any spiritual posturing.
Yes.
At all. And sometimes it's fun not to be in any sort of posturing. I've had very much recently the grandmother posturing. Yes, I am one. I've been one for 11 years, but so what? Yeah. I'm recently single after 40 years. So suddenly the whole thing's flipped around. So I don't necessarily know I want to be seen as a grandmother. That sort of it's spiritual grandmother, yeah, yes. Maybe, but even that, no. So I've had to have a rethink, and sometimes I think, so can we just drop all the labels, because with all the labels comes all the preconceptions, comes all the conditioning, and comes all the programming.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be nice just to wake up one morning with just let everything go? And if I get on overwhelm, which sometimes I do, that's what I do now. Rather than I used to sort of go away and be a bit tearful, I'm like, put your big girl pants on, just let it all go, and then let what is resonant with your frequency just wander back in its own time. And just let everything you have to do, everything you are or you think you are, or your roles that day, can you let that go? That's a very interesting practice to do. It's very freeing,
and it feels like it connects to the inner child a lot and that's what my children have taught me, is having time with them and really switching off from all my programs or my adult self and just enjoying time with them, just laughing, giggling, and that's what it's about. This journey is fun, enjoying it, smiling, having a good time, having a joke. And I feel like sometimes spirituality can be toxic, and we have to really go to that sacred neutral, going back to that word, neutrality, going back there with non-judgment and seeing ourselves and forgiving ourselves for some of the dumb shit we do, because we do dumb shit. That's just the nature of humans. We do weird, dumb shit. And I used to hold on to my things all the time, and now it's like, fuck it. Like, if we do a mistake or something happens, just like you say, it's harder to just say let go, and that's it. That's kind of like fairy light work. Just let it go, man. It's all right. Straight away, I'll let it go. But it's as simple as that, and learning how to do it without feeling guilty, without feeling the blame and shame and so on.
You're right. Anything in extremes, I think, is going to lead to some form of toxicity.
Yes.
And you don't want that as a long-term toxicity. And then related to children, I'm probably a far better grandmother than I was mother. We're going to use those labels again, but just talking about having grandchildren. So having children in my life again, I just have such fun. I had the best day taking my 4-year-old grandson out to the top of that hill and beating the drum, and then going and paddling in a stream and taking him down the beach. And what is important to a 4-year-old, we've somehow lost some of that. And I don't like it being knocked out of them either. I know, unfortunately, sometimes it is.
Yes.
But, main aim for the day is where can he play with his cars. So we actually went to a crazy golf place, because I live on the seafront and they're prevalent, as you know, in the UK on the seafront. And he found the crazy golf place was the best place to play with his little cars. And that's his whole world. And that is what's really important to him at the time. And it was really good fun playing with his cars with him up and down the ramps, and just doing, you'd never ever think of doing that, would you?
No.
But children just get you to do things that just help you let everything go as well.
Yes, and when you see a child, say, doing what you were talking about, or saying getting a toy, or like Opal the other day was playing and she was just there with 2 toys for ages, just enjoying 2 small dolls just for ages, like full on laughing and giggling and making them walk and stuff like that. And it's just like, wow, like it's looking at again from in a neutral way of what a great teacher children are, and us to remember we are the children as well. We still have that innocence, and when we do say admit that innocence, our frequency gets really high, and it does. That source of innocence is a real high frequency, and it's a love frequency. And for me, I've got loads of inner child stuff still to work on, and I have to do that. I've got a lot of inner child trauma and not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, not being loved by my parents, and not their fault at all. But all of those weird little things you have as a child, it's our responsibility, and it's our work to work on.
It is. And the work can be in joy as well, can't it? And
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I want to do, very simple, is roll down a hill on my side.
Rather the hell, I'd end up with broken arms now.
How much fun my grandson had doing, I thought, yeah, I want to do that. And he won't care what he's wearing to the beach. It doesn't matter. He'll swim in his underpants, which, to be honest, is something I would do now.
Yes.
I'm not too I'm not too worried really what people think. I'm usually far enough away from people anyway, but I don't let any sort of protocol really stop me just living life and enjoying it.
Beautiful. So we're gonna call an end to the show. I've got to do my bedtime routine. Got to go back to the fatherhood, but it's been a beautiful show, Laura, and I really appreciate you for having the time to come speak this evening.
Dale, it's been fabulous. I so appreciate you having me on. And when
tomorrow,
Two Feathers Medicine is up and running and Matty and I are doing these shows, then come on again and we'll have a round table. There's never-ending topics to discuss.
Yes.
So, or to just laugh about.
And we'll have Matty on tomorrow, and we'll do another show with Matty. Then I think I'll be having Debbie Smart on at some point, and I'd love for you to come and co-host that one, just to have some more layers. And that's, for me, my growth at the moment is working with people and finding people at signature frequency matches and doing the level of work. I'm not saying I'm greater than anyone, but just how I work and what I love to work at. And obviously meeting you, Matty, is great, and Lily and everyone. It's wonderful to have the Soul family coming together during these special, weird COVID times.
Isn't it? It really is. And doing our great work and having fun and rolling down hills. Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dale.
Thank you, Laura. You have a good evening, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Bye now.